Howdy, howdy do, Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And this is episode 281.
Yes.
One day, I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
Our lives are different to anybody else's. That's the exciting thing. Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
You may be a doctor, but I'm the doctor. The definite article, you might say.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear, and it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor!
For now, for this moment, I am the Doctor again.
The ground beneath our feet is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, and the entire planet is hurtling around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour, and I can feel it. We're falling through space, you and me.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
I could be a curator. I'd be great at curating. I'd be the great curator.
I could retire and do that.
I'm the Doctor. I've lived for over 2,000 years, and not all of them were good. I've made many mistakes, and it's about time that I did something about that.
Bit of adrenaline, dash of outrage, and a hint of panic knitted my brain back together. I know exactly who I am. I'm the Doctor. Sorting out fair play throughout the universe.
Howdy, howdy, howdy do. Welcome back, Who fans, to the Big Blue Box podcast for another week. This is episode 281. It's glad to have you all aboard. Hope you're all well, keeping safe and healthy. You've had a cracking week and you've all managed to do something. Doctor Who related. Related. 281, bud.
Yep.
Another week, another show.
Another one rattles round.
Suppose you better do another one. Until we decide not to.
Yeah, we'll go on forever.
Can't be bothered this week, mate. No, I'm
we'll
joking.
Be putting our teeth in at 100. Go get the old podcast recorded.
Oh God, we'll have to pause every 5 minutes to go to the toilet.
That's right. Yeah.
Unless we get the old incontinent pads out, we'll be all right.
Oh no.
Oh God. All right. So, yes. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to long-time listeners, the old grizzled ancients. Welcome aboard once again. And any new listeners that have jumped into the TARDIS to give us a listen, thank you very much for checking us out. Very much appreciated. It's been a bit of a fairly quiet week, dude, for all concerned. I don't know if you've been up to much Doctor Who stuff. Have you done anything Doctor Who-y?
Yeah, not too bad actually for me this week.
Oh, here we go.
No, not bad at all. So I had a couple of nice little deliveries this morning, which is great. I always love it when on my day off, if I've been expecting something and it hasn't turned up, I'm sort of at the door waiting, if you know what I mean. I'm like, come on. So yeah, I saw everyone's been getting their Dalek sets. The what's it called? The Jungle of, I can't pronounce it properly.
The blue and silver ones.
The blue, silver, and gold. Yeah, Jungles of Mackinons or something.
Yep.
Yeah, that one. I see everyone getting their Daleks. So I was like, I've been at work last couple of days. Like, where are my blimmin' Daleks? And anyway, they've arrived today and they look fantastic. They look great. Been taking lots of pictures of those this morning. And also a vinyl I ordered. Do you remember that nice record store day exclusive of The Massacre?
Yes.
The William Hartnell. So, it's quite difficult to get because obviously the record store day didn't happen when it was supposed to, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so a few of the independent stores have put them for sale online, and I ordered mine from a local store because a lot of people are just selling them crazy prices on eBay. I thought if I can actually get it from an independent shop, I'd much rather, get it from where I'm supposed to get it from, and for the the retail price. So that turned up today as well, and it's really nice. It did take a little while to get it because I was going, where's that blimmin' record? So yeah, it's all turned up today. So that was nice. But but apart from just splashing the cash, I have managed to fit in a bit of Big Finish this week.
Oh, cool.
Or last week. I've lost track of the days. This week, last week. So I listened to Out of Time. The David Tennant and Tom Baker story that just got released.
Nice. Yeah.
Have you listened to it yet?
No, not yet. No.
I loved it.
It's a good one.
And I think you'll love it as well, because I know how much you like Tennant. It sounds strange. So I think it was released, maybe 2 weeks ago now, wasn't it? Yeah, it's been quite a big build up to it. And although I was looking forward to listening to it, I thought it was going to be gimmicky because you got sort of two of the most popular doctors, and I was just expecting it to be a little bit throwaway, if you know what I mean. So I was really pleasantly surprised how much I enjoyed it. It is just so much fun. And Tennant, I've got to say, how some actors just, although they're great on audio, you sort of they almost give a sort of audio performance. Tennant just sounds like he could have been recorded off the TV. It's very hard for me to explain, but hopefully you know what I mean. His delivery is exactly the same as when he's actually on TV playing the Doctor. He's just absolutely slipped back into that role. And him and Tom together were brilliant. There's some really nice moments, and the story's really good as well. I know I sound surprised. I just assumed it was going to be, it'll be 10 and 4 together, and it'll be jokes, and it'll be a real sort of light story, and it's much more to it. I really, really enjoyed it. I was very, very pleasantly surprised by it, and I just know you'll love it because you like Tennant so much. I just know that you'll absolutely love it when you get around to listen to it. So I listened to that, and the only other thing I've done, and I'm hoping you've read this, but I don't know if you have, is I've just finished reading the first Time Lord Victorious comic. So issue 1 came out this week, is it? Last week?
Yeah. What did you think?
Yeah. It's. I did again. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't expecting it to start because I thought this is sort of going to be a new standalone thing, and it's all very 10th Doctor orientated, it seems. So I wasn't expecting to open the first page of the comic and it to say previously, and have this, and it sort of starts. It picks up from a story where 10 and 13 have met. So it sort of picks up from there, and I was thinking it threw me because I haven't read that, the last batch of comics for 10 and 13. So I was hoping this would just be like a sort of a total starting from fresh, let's go into Time of Victorious thing. So that's thrown me a bit because I don't really know what it's picking up from, if you know what I mean. So I might have to go back and read that. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was quite good. Have you read it yet?
Not yet, mate. Nope.
No, I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on it. I mean, as the comics go, it's a really nice start to the story. Again, I'm very confused by the whole Time of Victorious timeline thing. So I don't even know if this is the first part or if I'm supposed to have read something before it. I don't know. I just assumed being issue 1, this would be the place to start. But yeah, I'm a little bit confused by that. But yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's gone in a slightly new direction. Interested to see where it goes. This is obviously going to be a massive thing, isn't it? Time of Victorious, but
yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, I should have it read, mate, by the time we record next week.
Yeah, I'd just be interested to hear your thoughts on that one. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. The artwork and stuff's really nice inside. I can't fault that at all. It looks really good. Yeah, interesting start. Anyway.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that's called. What's the actual story? Oh no, that's
See, this is where I got confused because I was like, "Oh, is this the?" Because on the back it's got this sort of timeline thing of the whole Time of Victorious, and I was like, "Well, where is this comic on this timeline?" This is the other thing. Being colorblind, so on this graph on the back, which shows all the Time of Victorious releases, they've all got a circle around them in different colors, and at the bottom it's got it tells you what each of those colors are. So if it's a red color, for example, I think it's a comic. If it's a yellow, it's an audio, for example. That's but I can't see reds, browns, and greens, so I don't know what they are. It's really confusing to me. I can't tell the difference between the colors.
Yeah,
so I'm looking at it thinking, is this a book that's coming out next? Is this I just can't tell.
Yeah. So I think, it's weird. So there's a story that dropped, wasn't there, called Echoes of Extinction, which was a 8th Doctor and 10th Doctor story.
Where's that?
That is a comic, Echoes of Extinction.
Right.
And then there's a that feeds into the whole 8th Doctor part of the journey into the whole story arc, which so there's a McGann story, which is a comic called He Kills Me Not. Remember, we covered that as a preview.
Yeah.
So that then feeds into the next comic, The Enemy of My Enemy. That then feeds into number 1 of what you've just read, Defender of the Daleks, issue number 1.
So where's that McGann comic?
So the McGann comic, apparently, Echoes of Extinction, it was a Big Finish story, which I don't think is out yet. I think that's coming out.
That's what's thrown me. I don't think they're out yet.
No.
So yeah. It's already the timeline's got mixed.
Yes, yeah. So the Big Finish story, I think, is out early December, I think. That then leads into the comic for McGann, or the next 2 comics, or even the next 2 Big Finish stories, I can't remember. They then feed into issue number 1 of the comics. So it's a bit timey-wimey, dude. It's a little bit...
God, I bet Stephen Moffat would love this.
I bet he's all over this. This is his cup of tea, isn't it?
It's making my head hurt.
Yeah. There's a really good resource, actually. The dudes over at bloggertowho.com.
Oh, yeah.
Put together this really nice sort of infographic-y map timeline thing with a nice checklist of all the things you need to do to read or watch or listen to get through the story. So I'm trying to recall from memory what those things were, but I'm pretty sure the reason why issue number 1 kicks off with the 10th Doctor and the 8th Doctor meeting before, or the 13th Doctor before, is because it feeds from another story previous to that.
Oh, I get you. Right. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping it doesn't matter, because this multi-platform thing, there's so many bits you've got to, interact with or read or listen to. But I'm hoping you can enjoy it if you haven't read every single bit of it. I mean, I'm sure. I'm hoping there's it has a certain amount of standalone to it to be able to enjoy it, because I don't want to get too lost in this.
I think some of it will. Some of it will.
Yeah.
Yes. Anything else, dude, you've been up to?
Not really, no. I mean, just talking to doing my head in, it's not Doctor Who related, but I did go and see Tenet the other day, which I still, in my head, always every time I say it, I think of David Tennant. It's nothing to do with him. Tenet, the new, what's the name, Nolan film.
Oh, yeah.
That completely, if you think the Time of Victorious is complicated, Tenet is just that with the cherry on top. I enjoyed it, but I've absolutely no idea what it was about. Again, I can just imagine Stephen Moffat at the back of the cinema, like, that was perfection. I understood it. I understood it from start to finish, because it is very, Anyway, yeah. But apart from going to cinema to see that and listen to Big Finish and reading the comic, and working, that's been pretty much my week, actually. But it has been a good week, yes.
Good.
I feel like I've crammed a little bit of info into my brain this week, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I really want you to listen to that audio. I just, all the way through, I kept thinking, Gary is going to love it. It's so much fun. I really want you to get into that one.
Yes, I've got it delivered. I've got it here.
It's, get it on when you get a spare chance. It's an hour as well. It's that's the other thing. It's a nice, just little 50-minute, whatever, hour story. Yeah, perfect. Go and do a bit of ironing. That's normally when I listen to my Big Finish, is when I'm doing the ironing.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't drive. I know a lot of people listen to them in their car, don't they? But I don't drive, so yeah.
Yeah, true.
So what have you been up to?
What have I been up to? So I've had a bit of a First Doctor Hartnell binge, mate.
Oh, good. I love Hartnell.
Well, I say a binge officially with the story. So what it was, I was looking through, or me and the missus were looking through for something to watch the other night, because we did that thing where Netflix has sort of run dry a little bit. We've watched a bunch of stuff on there. And we get Amazon Prime just because you get it, the Amazon Prime video library, just because we're Prime members anyway. So I had a look through there, and I've noticed that they've got every single series of, those documentaries they put out on DVD. They're called The Doctors. And they do all the Doctors, and then they did the Monsters one and More Monsters and all that lot.
Yeah.
So they've got every single one of those on Amazon Prime, which is cool.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. So when the missus went to bed, I jumped on that, obviously. I'm feeling a bit tired. Yeah, you should go up to bed, darling. You should definitely go to bed if you're feeling tired. Go on, off you go. And then I stuck this Doctor Who on straight away, and it's really cool. So what they do is it's really, the way they've done it is really digestible because they break it all into chunks. So they treat it as a series, if you like. So that first DVD, they break it down into chunks, and I think there's 7 episodes, and they divide it into each of the actors that they've interviewed about Hartnell. So the first 2 are quite good. So the first one is like an introductory kind of thing. It's about, it's about 15 minutes, and it's
is that with Briggs?
Briggs and the other guy who produced it with him. I've forgotten the guy's name. Those 2 basically telling us about how they came about to make the documentary in the first place, and how they've added some extra stuff in for these new ones, and blah blah blah. And then number 2, episode 2, is the William Hartnell years, and that's quite long. That's got like a whole slew of interviews with various people, like Carol Ann Ford, Peter Purves, and just a bunch of people there. And then what they do from episode 3 onwards is they've got all these extended interviews just with that one person. So episode 3 is Carol Ann Ford, one of them's William Russell, one of them's Jackie Lane, like a load of people. So I'm up to episode 4 of that at the moment. So that's really cool. And that then prompted me to just go off and want to watch a little bit of Hartnell. So I watched the Aztecs. Haven't seen that in a while.
Oh, that's a nice story, that, like the Aztecs.
Indeedy. Yeah.
Yes.
I've
got those. I didn't realise they were on a streaming platform. They are nice. So cause I've got the DVDs of those. I think they're just called The Doctors, aren't they? Or something like The Doctors, and then it's like the William Hartnell years.
That's right.
Troughton years. Yeah. They are. They're great little sets, actually. They just basically they used to produce them as, what were they called? Not real time.
Myth makers, that's it.
Yeah, they collected together the interviews from each of those and put them into Doctor years, which works really, really well. Yeah. Talking to streaming platforms, you know what's just been added to BritBox? Something else you've got to watch.
I do know. I knew you were going to be. I knew you were going to bring this up.
Get it on.
Yep. So
you need to fit that into your busy schedule.
I was going to bring it up actually. Yeah. So from the 10th of September. So tomorrow, we're recording this on the 9th, but time you listen to this, guys, it will be on there. Yep, all of Blake 7's going to be on there. They've also added the old, the old Avengers series.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, that's on there as well, along with a really old Terry Nation series called Survivors, which I've heard of but not watched before. So I'm going to check that out. That looks pretty good.
It's funny, isn't it? I've never made it through. I only watched about 3 episodes of Survivors. I think because I love Blake 7 so much, and I'd heard quite good things about Survivors. I thought, that's the sort of next set I should buy. And I got it, the complete DVD set. But I watched 3 and it was very bleak. Maybe I just wasn't in the mood for it. I don't know. It's totally different to Blake 7. Maybe I was just expecting something totally different. But I couldn't get into Survivors. But so many people love it that I feel like I must give that another go.
Yes.
At some point, yeah,
I'll give it a go at some point. And if you're into David Bowie, The Man Who Fell to Earth is going to be on there from tomorrow as well.
Wow. Oh, it's the Cushing movie's been added as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that both of them are coming tomorrow. So both of those, which looks really good. So obviously Doctor Who and the Daleks, and then Invasion Earth 2150 AD. So both of those little gems are going to be on there. So BritBox is looking really sweet at the minute, dude.
That is great. Absolutely great. I haven't seen much of the original Avengers either. It's another series that people really, really like. Mind you, I'm saying this like I've got BritBox. I haven't got BritBox. I don't know why I'm getting excited. I haven't got it. But if I did have it, I'd be watching the Avengers.
I've got never watched that. I've got a little trick for some if people want to save a bit of cash on BritBox as well.
Yeah.
So you get a 1 month free trial when you sign up. So if you want BritBox, but just for a few months, then instead of costing, what was it, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 quid, you can get it for 15 quid for a few months. So if you get a month free anyway, and then once your first payment comes out, if you go through the website and try to cancel your subscription, they'll say, hold on a minute, we don't want to see you go. How would you like 3 months worth of BritBox for a tenner? So yeah, I'll have a bit of that.
That's a little handy tip.
Yeah. So then, so I'm paid up until the end of the year. It cost me a tenner.
Fantastic.
So anyone wants to try BritBox for a while, doesn't want to splash too much cash, because there's some really, obviously the whole classic Who library is on there, as well as a bunch of documentaries and Sarah Jane and K9 and all that jazz.
Yeah.
But now the Cushy movies are on there and all. So they've just recently gone through a phase of adding loads of really cool classic sci-fi as well. It's really cool.
I'm glad they've added the Cushy movies, because I really liked them, especially the second one. I love that Dalek Invasion Earth. Just absolutely glorious. Yeah, that's really good stuff, isn't it?
It's cool, yeah. So other than that, mate, watching a bit of Hartnell, I've not done anything else. I need to read the comics, as you said. I'll have them read at the weekend, and
yeah,
yes, that's about it, mate, for me.
Which cover variants did you get in the end for the Time Lord Victorious?
Oh, I got 2 of them. I got the crikey, they're downstairs.
I know you got the Lee Binding one.
No, I didn't. No.
Oh, you didn't? Oh.
No.
Oh no! Did you get the big bulbous Dalek head?
Yes.
Yes.
I got that one, and then another one. It's just got Tennant on the front. It looks like a classic sort of comic-y, cartoony style.
Yeah, I know, with the Daleks behind him. And
that's
stuff,
the one. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I got those 2 as well, but I did get the Lee Binding one as well. So I got 3 variants for issue 1. I'm not going to get 3 for all of them because it's ridiculous. But yeah, it's weird though, because I could have swore that I ordered. There's one with just the Dalek on it. I could have swore I ordered that instead of the one that you were talking about with the Doctor in the middle of the Daleks. But anyway, yeah.
Actually, I think you did. You did tell us that last week or the week before when you.
Yeah, I reckon they might have sent me the wrong one, but I'm happy enough with it. They are quite nice variants.
Yeah. So I got the cover B. Sorry, I got cover B, and cover C are the 2 variants I got. Yeah. And then for issue 2, I got the cover B, which is the photo, which is the big bulbous Dalek on the front,
big bulbous.
And then the other one, which is cover A, which is the Andy Tong one, which is just Tennant in amongst a bunch of other Daleks and stuff. And yes, when are they out? Actually, issue 2 are they monthly or fortnightly?
I think it's monthly. Gander.
When's it out? 7th of October, so monthly then. Yep.
Yeah, monthly.
Okay. Yeah. In fact, yeah. I don't know. I might cancel the issue 2 pre-order.
Why?
And just
because you're going to get the whole lot.
Just get the trade paper. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Actually, no, because I don't know. Screw it. I'll leave it.
It's quite nice when it arrives. Like I saw I love the Forbidden Planet. Like the comic books that they send them in the post, like the red and black packaging. Yeah. So as soon as that comes through letterbox, you're like, I know what this is. So that's quite nice.
Yeah, that is a good feeling actually.
Yeah.
Mail call. Right, that's it. That's what we've been up to. We're going to crack on with the rest of the show. We haven't got any merch to go through. We've got one piece of news related to the Time Lord Victorious stuff. And then we're going to crack on with our review of the 3rd Doctor story, Terror of the Autons. Not the Terror of the Autons, I might add. I've had to correct a few people very pretentiously on Twitter. So before we get on with all that, though, remember to subscribe to our show on whatever podcast app you listen to your podcasts on. Just do a search for the Big Blue Box Podcast or go to the website, bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. There are links to all of the podcast apps over there. And if you've got a minute to leave us a review or a rating, that would be lovely because that helps us out lots and lots. We're on the socials too, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Links on the website. We've got a free Discord server as well. Link is on the website. And remember to check out all of my co-hosts' content over on YouTube. His channel is called The Geek's Handbag. Indeedy. And he's on the socials too, under the same name, The Geek's Handbag. Give us a like and a follow because we chat plenty of Doctor Who throughout the week.
Yes.
Right, buddy. Shall we land it and do a wee bit of news?
Yeah, okay.
So,
I love that sound.
Related to the Time Lord Victorious stuff is the final piece of the puzzle. You'll be glad to know, buddy.
Yeah.
For the whole thing. So BBC Studios have announced that, and they are, I'm quoting them here, that the final missing piece in the Doctor Who Time Lord Victorious will be a 5-part CGI animated story that will launch in November. No, dude, I'm confused as hell by this.
You're confused.
Yes.
Don't look to me for answers. I'm lost.
Yeah. So this is a story. This is a mini series, 5 parts, and it's just called Daleks! ! Right? It's just called Daleks, and it's part of the Time Lord Victorious arc. But it's still going to be really timey-wimey because we know that some of the latter things that are coming out later on in the year, like the final 2 or 3 Big Finish stories, one of the books, and I think a couple of the comics, they're not out until December. Yet this is meant to be like the closing bit of the story to close everything out. And this is out in November. So it's going to land before some of the other stories, which is weird, dude. So I'm a bit... They have to be careful with this, though, I must admit, because although it's really cool, really, really cool, that they've got this multimedia story arc and, you know, it's all kind of, you know, interwoven across mediums and stuff. It's great. It's very cool. But already there are just certain threads that you just have to really pay attention to. Now, for the casual listener or for the sort of Doctor Who fan that's kind of been lurking around for a few years, not really deciding on whether to dive into Big Finish or not, hasn't picked up any books or comics, has watched the odd programme, if they're thinking of diving into Doctor Who, they're just going to be completely like you and I, who obviously watch and read and do plenty of Doctor Who stuff every single week. And I'd like to think that we have a fairly good grasp on what's happening in the world of Doctor Who. And I'm sure a lot of other podcasters and content creators are hopefully feeling a similar thing where it's like even we're like, well, what the bloody hell does this mean? And where does it link to? And what does that bit mean for that? And so it is very timey-wimey, I must admit. And it's a bit, I'm just not sure I'm not sure how to watch this really. Like, am I cool to watch this when it lands on the, in November? And it's not going to spoil anything for the other things that have still yet to land after that? Or do I have to not watch this, listen to the remaining Big Finish and read the last book, whatever, and then watch this at the very end? I'm really not sure. So just keep that in mind, dudes. It does launch in November, apparently, and it's apparently the final chapter of the Time Lord Victorious. But anyway, they're 5 10-minute animated features, and they've got a star-studded cast, apparently, featuring Nicholas Briggs, obviously, as the voice of the Daleks.
Yep.
Joe Shug. You know who Joe Shug is, right? Yeah. Me either.
Oh, good. Thank God. I thought you were being... I was thinking, no, never heard of it.
Me either.
YouTube and Strictly Come Dancing.
Yeah, so the name rang a bell, but I couldn't place the face. And when I looked it up very quickly, I remember when the wife was watching Strictly, was it last year or the year before? He was on there. Anyway, he's a YouTuber. That's his career. He does YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's one of the voices. We've got Anjali Mahindra from Sarah
The Rani. Oh, no, Rani. Sorry.
Oh, crikey. And Aisha Antoine, apparently, from Holby City. So there's your star-studded cast. And a couple of little quotes from these people. So Nick Briggs says, the latest fantastic thrill-packed adventure into the world. Look, Nick, you don't have to sell it in, mate. You don't have to put the hard sell on.
You know he has to. You know he's got to.
So he says, this latest fantastic thrill-packed venture into the world of animation, with the Daleks as the stars of the show, is something so many of us have been craving for years. And for me, it's been a marvellous challenge, as usual, playing every single Dalek in action, but with the added excitement of portraying some beautifully written leading Dalek characters. It's been a blast, and I can't wait to see the finished production. Joe Shug Says, I'm super excited and thankful to have been invited to play a role in this new animation. I've been a fan of Doctor Who from a young age, so to be part of it is a dream come true. That's a lie. Anjali Mohindra says, when I saw this series about those iconic villains, I knew I was going to be one hell of a ride, and I couldn't wait to sign up. I had so much fun being thrown into the wonderfully weird world of remote recording, and so thrilled I was able to be part of something and feel so special. That is true. Aisha Antoine says, I have never been more fascinated to see the final product of a show. That's a lie. To be a part of the animated story of these iconic baddies is really special. The recording session was a whole new adventure, another surreal moment to add to the growing list from 2020. So a couple of people there who were just playing the game, you know what it's all about. So if I was an actor, if I was to change my profession next week, I went for an audition and I got the thing, and it was this about a film and a book that's been out for donkey's years that I've never read or never seen. Obviously, when I'm doing my interviews, I'm like, yeah, I've been a huge fan of so-and-so. Like my entire life, I've always been a massive fan. It's an honour. Yeah. So there's your castmate. And then just finally, it's written by James Goss. And it's part of the BBC Studios digital production. There's a trailer that's been out. It's about 20 seconds. It tells you nothing. It's just a few Daleks flying through space, and that's your lot. So that's it, mate. Daleks. Gonna close out the story, apparently.
You've really sold it. Yeah, no, I'm kind of glad I'm glad we're recording in the afternoon, because this literally dropped about an hour before we started recording. I think it's good to be able to talk about it on this week's show. I just hope that when they started this plotting the whole Time Lord Victorious thing, that they actually have thought it through and not just rush this out. Because, like you said, it is starting to feel like, hang on, is this supposed to be out now before that? And same with the first issue coming out before the big finish, and it is starting to feel a little confusing. I'm just hoping it's all meant to be. How does this compare to the Star Wars multi-platform thing? Because they did it, didn't they? Quite successfully. Or was it something else? What was the other one that I remember when this first got announced? You were saying that I thought it was Star Wars had already done this sort of multi-platform thing, or was it something else?
Yeah. So that was something called the High Republic, which is a story based around a certain era of Star Wars, way before the Skywalker stuff. But that's been delayed. So I think the first couple of books for that are coming out in a couple of months' time, maybe. But that's also going to be across comics and something else. Yeah.
Oh, I see. So that's still to go. I just wondered how it compared, to this sort of thing. Because I'm just hoping they know what they're doing, basically. Because it does sound like the sort of thing that, if it works properly, could be really good. And one of the reasons I was asking if you'd read the comic yet and stuff is because I feel like, because it's being released in stages, it's quite nice for everyone to dip in at the same time and share their opinions on it and stuff and that sort of thing. So in that sense, I hope it works, because it'd be nice to chat with other fans of, have you seen the new animation yet? Have you read the next comic? Have you picked up the audio yet? Is that a good story? You know what I mean? I'm hoping we can all, as fans, really get into this series and experience each thing as it's released. But that enjoyment might be hindered if it's skew-if and it's all gone a bit to pot. I don't know. But as going back to this animation thing, yeah, I hate to be negative, but the animation looks rubbish. It looks really cheap. I'm just the thing is, it is free, so I don't mean to be cruel, because it's a free thing and I'm sure it's going to be lovely, you know what I mean? I'm sure it's going to be a really cool little 5-part thing, so I don't mean to be rude or bash it or whatever, but my first thoughts when I saw that trailer was, is this the finished product? Because like in this day and age, that is pretty shoddy CGI. Do you call it CGI? Yeah, CGI.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I just wasn't very impressed with the trailer, to be honest with you. But I'm going to put that aside, because if it's a good little story or whatever, that really doesn't matter. I mean, it won't bother me any more rather than if I'm watching an old Doctor Who and the picture quality is bad. It's just, the stories are more important. But if I'm being absolutely honest, my very first thoughts when I watched the trailer was, blimey, it's a bit ropey. Mm-hmm. Like the actual CGI is a bit ropey, but anyway, I'm still quite excited for it. I think it'll be pretty cool little thing to be able to watch.
Yeah, I think so, mate. And I think, like you said, it's difficult to be, what's the word? It's difficult to sort of lay a lot of judgment and stuff because this whole arc has literally just kicked off. But
yeah,
I just feel like, you know, if they have to explain everything with infographics and timelines and stuff, then I don't know, man. So
you're not convinced?
Well, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm up for it. Obviously, I think it's going to be cool. But yeah, I just worry that we're gonna get into, because it's okay at the moment because what is it now? 2nd September. So, oh god, they've added something else to this now. Oh, for frick's sake! So the timeline that's on the official Time Lord Victorious website. It's so in September we've got see, this is weird. What's going on?
Is this just dropped?
So I've not heard of this before. So apparently the Time Lord Victorious thing kicks off, available now, called A Dalek Awakens, which is a live experience as part of the UK.
Well, what?
What's that then?
That's not the thing we talked about the other week, is it?
Is that the interactive show thing? That's not that, is it? I didn't think that was out yet. I thought that was... Anyway. So
what is going on?
So apparently you need to go and do that now.
My brain hurts. Oh, right. I'm just going to... We'll pick up the podcast later, but I'm just going to do the experience.
I'm going to hear a window smash in a minute. He's going to jump out the bloody window. So apparently you need to do that now. That's out now. And then on the 2nd, we had Defender of the Daleks comic book drop. That was that. Apparently the other day, the Doctor Who Annual 2021 dropped. There's a Time Lord Victorious section in there you need to read, which I didn't know was on there. And then Doctor Who magazine. This is not the official Doctor Who magazine, but a Doctor Who magazine called Monstrous Beauty is going to land next week. And then they haven't added this new Daleks thing in for November. Dude, this is exactly what I'm talking about.
It's all happening.
If we can't figure this, and I'm not blowing our own trumpet, of course I'm not. I'm just saying we're into Who a lot. But if we can't figure this out, I know there's probably listeners now thinking, what is wrong with you two? It's as simple as ABC. It's just this. But I must be missing something here, dude. I cannot join the dots very well with this.
Well, I don't know. I'm a bit lost.
Yeah. Anyways, before we lose our minds completely, the 5-part animated series, just Daleks, ! Is out November to finish off the Time Lord Victorious story, but it's not out at the end of when it's all finishing. It's out a couple of months before that. And that's your lot, mate. That's all your news.
Enjoy
that, fans. Just let us... Actually, yeah, this is a plea to all of our listeners. If you could please try and put this thing in a more succinct way that we actually understand how this all links. And we've seen the whole big infographic on Blog to Who. Seen that. Get that. But it differs from what the Time Lord Victorious infographic is on the official website. And they've added stuff on. Yeah. So I don't know. But that's it. We're not going to do any merch because there aren't any.
No, there's nothing. Old Dalek Tat's having a nice week off.
Indeedy.
He'll have a little spring in his step when he comes back next week, if he's got anything next week.
No, don't worry about that, mate.
Find him something.
Can't be sod. Right, anyways. Review time, bud.
Yes.
What we got?
Yeah, so a bit of classic Who this week. Jon Pertwee kicking off season 8 back in the day with Terror of the Autons.
What is a Nestine?
A Nestine is a ruthlessly aggressive, intelligent alien life form.
The Nestines can put life into anything made of plastic.
An old acquaintance has arrived on this planet.
Who the heck are you? I am usually referred to as the Master.
I'm your new assistant.
Oh, no.
Josephine Grant. Report from one of our field sections, sir, Captain Yates. Some kind of sabotage at a radio telescope. Two of their scientists have disappeared. Something was stolen from the National Space Museum.
The
was on loan from this HQ.
Well, that's the Nestine's energy unit. It should never have left this building.
The Master has learnt a great deal since you last met him.
I refuse to be worried by a renegade like the Master.
Death is always more frightening when it strikes invisibly.
A wave of sudden deaths all over the home counties.
Cause?
Asphyxiation, heart failure, shock.
Doctor! Miss Grant? Get down, man! Get down! They're Autons! Bullets can't stop them!
Whoa.
That's a good one.
God, I love that Auton sound, that gun.
Mm-hmm. Classic.
Effects.
Classic, mate.
Amazing.
Get down, man. Get down.
Bullets can't stop them. What a great line.
The old Brig and the Doctor. Can't beat them.
No.
Right. Terror of the Autons. It was first, as a 4-parter. The first part went out on the 2nd of January 1971.
Wow.
And finished up at the end of the month, 23rd of January of the same year. Obviously, it's not that long. It was written by Robert Holmes, directed by Barry Letts, uncredited, I might add. Overseen by Terence Dix. Stars Jon Pertwee, obviously. Katie Manning as Jo Grant. And then I'd say about 15 to 20 supporting cast members. And the story is, so Earth is endangered by the renegade Time Lord known as the Master. He steals a dormant Nestine energy unit from a museum and then reactivates it using the facilities at the now classic location, the radio telescope, and then uses his hypnotic abilities to take control of a small plastics manufacturer, Farrell Autoplastics, where he organises the production of deadly Auton artefacts, including dolls, chairs, and daffodils. He then has an evil scheme to destroy humanity and to silence his old foe, the Doctor, forever. His plans to awaken the awesome power of the Nestines, a ruthlessly aggressive alien life form. However, the Nestines can control anything made of plastic, including killer Autons, plastic mannequins, faceless but possessing shared consciousness. The Autons then form an army for the invasion, easily controlled by the Master. And this is the terrible threat facing Earth. Aided by the Brigadier and by new companion, Jo Grant, only the Third Doctor can combat their evil power, but first he must defeat the Master. So that's the synopsis for that one. So, Terror of the Autons. Wait, I've been looking forward to doing this one for ages, for 2 reasons, really. First one is it feels like we don't get to visit the Third Doctor that much.
Yeah, true.
For some reason.
Yeah.
And secondly, this one does... It does normally come up in conversation with people because of the Autons and because it's Jo Grant's first story and so on. And it's quite early on in Pertwee's era. So it's normally a decent talking point, Series 8. There's a few in there. Bear in mind, we've only reviewed 2 out of the 5 episodes of Series 8.
Yeah. Have we done, what is it, Damon's?
The Daemons and the Claws of Axos.
Oh, Claws of Axos, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But anyways, what do you reckon to Terror of the Autons?
Terror of the Autons. Yeah, I think you're right. It does come up in conversation because obviously you start talking about, which is better, Spearhead or Terror of the Autons and what, that sort of thing. But sort of putting that to one side, because I absolutely love Spearhead. I don't want to sort of compare the two. I think they're both great stories. I really enjoyed this. It's just a brilliant start to the season 8. I wasn't alive back in, what year was this? 71. But if I was, and this was kicking off a new season of Doctor Who, I just think it's epic in its own way for the time back then, because you got the introduction of the Master. I completely forget that this is his first story. Sort of watching him land in his mobile home or whatever it is. What is it? He's got this blue truck,
trailer truck thing.
Yeah, the way he just gets out of it and immediately Roger Delgado is just absolutely captivating for the very second he steps out of that thing. And I just think to myself, oh yeah, of course, this is his first story, and he's just amazing in it. I mean, the Autons take a bit of a backseat. I think that's why when you start to compare it to Spearhead, you think, well, then this is less of a Auton story, more of a sort of introduction to the Master, I think. But I don't mind that because I think Delgado is so fantastic as the Master that it's just a really interesting story. I love it. It's got great ideas in it, like the daffodils and the plastic and the way he utilizes it, the way he toys with the Doctor all the way through it, setting these little traps which he knows the Doctor's going to get out of. He's really just teasing him all the way through, isn't he? Like the telephone wire and all that sort of stuff. It's brilliant watching those two. I also forget that they don't even get to meet until episode 4. So watching it this morning, I was like, oh yeah, we're on episode 4. They've only just got in the same room. They're brilliant together. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and it's a lovely introduction to Jo Grant as well. One of my favourite companions. She's superb in this. The way they handle the relationship between the Doctor and Jo. So this sort of friction at the start that he doesn't really want a new assistant. He's got settled in now in unit. He's got his own little lab. The TARDIS is in the background. I love that as well. I just love the fact he's settled into doing what he wants to do and tinkering around. He doesn't need anyone else around him. He's quite sort of straight about that. And the way that their relationship builds and they become close from what they start, in this story is just brilliant. It's just lovely to see that progression of the two characters, the Doctor and Jo, from the start of this story to where they are at the end of it. They are going to become a fantastic Doctor companion relationship. So yeah, it's great. I really, really enjoyed watching this. Really, really enjoyed it. It's if I had one minor fault really about it, it'd be the ending does feel rushed. It just seems to end very quickly. But it's an action-packed ending. I liked it. I still thought, we're going for it here. There's lots of explosions, a unit getting involved. It just seemed to wrap up very quick. But that would be really my only sort of main criticism with it. I thought it was thoroughly enjoyable. Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Cool.
Yeah. What about you, Doctor? You love it.
I actually really like this one, mate.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really good.
Really like this one.
Really
I think
good
it's
fun.
and it's got a couple of bits in it that a lot of people don't like, but I actually quite like.
Oh, what? Like what?
Yeah, so a lot of people complain about the CSO work in this. There's quite a few scenes where there's two things for it really. Just very quickly, the first one is the camera's not very well placed for the CSO. So there's a bit where the camera moves and the whole set moves, but the background that's being blue screened in is obviously static and it looks like kind of weird. And also there's a massive amount of like fuzziness and blurriness around the people's hair and everything like that. But it's just bloody 1971. I mean, that's what makes it so cool to watch. Like some of these old Who stories is that sort of bad special effects and limited budget to do that stuff. I mean, that's what I love about a lot of these classic Who stories. But a lot of people can, they rubbish all that stuff. It's like, oh, the CSO's awful and it distracts. No, it doesn't. It's part of that old charm. It's lovely to watch. And and the other thing is, like you said, mate, Katie Manning's so good.
She's so good in
first one. She's like, she's got this really good combination of being really sweet and just really instantly likable.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just that.
Yep.
Even when the Doctor's being a bit standoffish, because he's got that, he has this attitude like, oh, I don't need an assistant. And if you are going to get me one, then she has to be like this amazing scientist. And he's very picky and he just doesn't seem very, very happy at all. But then as the story progresses, you can tell that he warms to her more and more. And then by the end of it, like you said, they kind of got this bond immediately and they go off then for like the rest of whatever it was. Like, so what was this? This series 8, wasn't it? Series 8? Yeah. So, we've then got like many, many stories and hours after this of those two being really good together. So, yeah, it's... Yeah, I like it for those two reasons. It's got that even though it's in colour, it still, to me, has that very, very old, classic Who feel to it.
Yeah, definitely does.
Yeah, with the limitations in the technology and the production, and also just some of the acting as well. The acting feels very sort of Troughton-y, Hartnell era supporting cast. It feels very much like old English, very proper. If I close my eyes and watch this episode, it's definitely in black and white for sure. When I close my eyes, and I love that about it. I absolutely love it. And then the story's not too bad either. To be honest with you, it kind of, I don't know. It kind of kicks off. So with the Autons themselves, it kind of kicks off almost like what I just said about this being classic and everything like that. The Autons, for me, they feel like a modern monster. And I'm not talking about seeing them in Rose and the Eccleston story. I'm just talking about the concept and their whole, because it's not just a monster in a rubber suit knocking about, or an alien that looks awful. They've actually got some threat about them, and they've actually got, and I think it's because they're sort of layered in two parts, where you've got the Nestine consciousness that's like the main thing, and that's sort of intertwined with the Master's story throughout it, and then you've got the actual plastic dummies or whatever it is themselves. It's kind of layered really nicely, so you've always got this kind of pressure mounting up on the Doctor's shoulders, because he has to figure out exactly what the Master's up to. He doesn't really know what's going on there. Then he has to figure out this whole, it's got a bit of sort of sciencey, physicsy thing going on, where he's figuring out the plastics and then the daffodils and the thing that gets sprayed onto Joe's face. And so it's got that really cool, the way they kick off this new series. And a lot of people do say it's like a very, very soft reboot already of Pertwee's era. Like Series 7's meant to be a very experimental, I suppose, sort of finding out where they wanted to go with the show. And then when Series 8 lands, it's very much we're kind of mostly happy with what we did in Series 7, but we want to correct a few things, and now this is like proper Doctor Who moving forward. So they kick off that as well. So I
think bringing the Master into it does give that template, doesn't it? Because it's, he becomes such a integral part of the Pertwee era from now on, the Master.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what I was going to come on to. It's it feels like a bunch of stuff is established from this episode onwards, doesn't it? Like the whole Doctor being a tinkerer, a proper tinkerer and repairer and all that stuff, a detective, which is really good. That formula's been sort of set in stone from this point onwards, I would say, like properly. And then we have the Autons, but then, that whole thing around the other Time Lords, like this feels very like expanded universe in a way, because we hear the Doctor talking about Time Lords and stuff like that. We don't have that huge mess of crap to deal with yet. We don't have all the Time War stuff. We don't have the Timeless Child, all of that gumph. We're just free of all that stuff for a while. But we do have those really cool little nuggets of the Master dropping in. We have that other Time Lord that rocks up in the bowler hat.
Oh, again, I forgot about him. Yeah, that was strange, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it really does feel like from this point onwards, we kind of have a sort of not a second bite at the cherry, but a really good excuse to sort of lay a good foundation for some cool stuff that would happen with those characters and those monsters from here on in. So I've got a lot of respect and a lot of love for this one, mate, overall.
Yeah, no, it's true. I think the thing with the Master is, you're right. It's you're bringing this character that obviously the Doctor knows, but we're meeting him for the first time, and you instantly get that they're almost equals, aren't they, in their intelligence, just on different sides of the coin.
Yeah,
basically. But what I love about it is that this sort of cat and mouse thing that they build up between the two instantly. Like the Master, could easily kill the Doctor. He keeps setting these traps, but he's actually delighted when he escapes. It's, I think he even says, doesn't he, as soon as he kills the Doctor, the fun's over, really. It's all about the sort of just the teasing and, the thought that he might and he could. And the Doctor, if you notice, when the Master escapes at the end, it's a lovely, subtle smile from Pertwee as he's driving off. The Doctor just loves the fact the Master's actually got away. And that end line that he says, she says, "Aren't you worried?" Joe says, "Aren't you worried that the Master's out there?" And he's like, "No, I'm actually rather looking forward to it." And I thought that is perfection, because so are we. We can't wait to see more of this Doctor and the Master, because, like I said, they're only really in one scene pretty much together in this, and they're electric together. But even when they're not together, the two characters, Third Doctor and the Master, are just, you can't take your eyes off the screen when either of those are on it. They're just absolutely brilliant. And it's a good story. Like you said, it's a simple story, Earth invasion, all that sort of stuff. But the way that they bring in these new characters and use them in the story really, really makes it an enjoyable watch. And introducing the new characters of Joe, the Master, and of course Yates. I again forget it's his first story. Bringing in this sort of new sort of template for what will become the sort of Third Doctor era. It's a great start to it. Yeah, I really loved it. It's like you said, it's got a couple of moments in it which are pretty horror like. It pushes the boundaries a bit. I mean, for back in the day. I mean, now you probably wouldn't think anything of it. Kids wouldn't even bat an eyelid at some of the stuff that was going on in this. But back then in 1971, having policemen having their faces ripped off to reveal an Auton, and killer daffodils, and the bit with Jo when she has that thing put over her mouth and she can't breathe. They're quite horrific moments. The killer chair. I love the killer plastic chair. All this stuff. It's pretty heavy for the time it was made, and but it works brilliantly. I think Barry Letts and Terence Dicks. They knew how to produce. They knew kind of how to get the line just right between what they could get away with, I think, and push the boundaries. Yeah, it's a really good fun watch. I just loved it from start to finish. Really, really, really did.
Yeah, and it's that good old fashioned behind the sofa mentality.
It is.
With this,
yeah,
isn't it?
You're right. That classic, when you say Doctor Who, classic Doctor Who behind the sofa. Yeah, absolutely. This is one of those stories, isn't it?
Yeah.
The CSO thing you mentioned, it's weird. There is a lot in it, but not as much as I remembered. Because I do, when I think of this story, like if I think of Spearhead for Space, I think, yeah, it's all on film. It looks great. It's a lot of location work. When I think of Terror of the Autons, I do think of CSO. I immediately think, oh yeah, there's a lot of CSO in that one. But it's not as bad as I remembered, and it didn't really distract me from. So the bit I often think is really, in my mind, I often think is really bad. But when I watched it again last night, is not as bad as I thought. Is the bit in the with the killer doll? When she's in the kitchen, and the killer doll kills the owner of the factory. Yeah. I always remember that looking terrible when I first watched this. But although it doesn't look great, there is a charm to it. Like you said, I thought, yeah, it still kind of works. The kitchen CSO is it's slightly out of proportion. So they've not quite matched up the proportions right. So the sink looks massive behind her and stuff like that. But it's only on screen for like a couple of seconds. And it's quite a scary scene as well, isn't it? Her scream is fantastic. It totally sells it.
It's great. Yeah. That little doll's pretty creepy as well.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I absolutely love it because it looks horrific. But I would genuinely, if I had one of those in the house, and I do know someone who's actually got a full size one, I could not sleep with that thing in the house. It's horrific.
It's creepy, isn't it? Let's be honest.
But it's brilliant as well. Absolutely brilliant. The way it just comes alive. And I love this idea of something coming alive when it reaches a certain temperature as well. I thought it was a great idea, that. The way the Master just throws it on the back seat and turns up the heater in the car. What a great idea, because you'll then, the suspense is that you're waiting for it to activate. It's going to happen. So I thought that was a great idea. But it's more interesting than the sonar, like the second part of the story where they're brought to life by a signal. That's a little bit. I found that less interesting, but I think I know what. I mean, obviously, I know why they did it, because you can't heat up. You can't stand outside and say, I'm waiting for the sun to appear for something to come alive. It's a limited thing. But yeah, it works very well with the doll, though. When the doll comes alive, I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, and like I said, a lot of people complain about that stuff, but It's I mean, there's a couple of scenes where it's a little bit, like you said, they haven't quite nailed the proportions and stuff, but
well, it was quite a new thing, I think, wasn't it? CSO back then. I mean, Barry Letts loved it. I think he was fascinated by what you could use it for. It's a bit like CGI now, isn't it? Really. I mean, I get really fed up with the amount of CGI that we get in films now. I think it's massively overused, and I think this is a sort of example of sort of like early CGI, really, that it was something new, it was exciting. They were trying to use it and see how far they could use it, you know. And of course, it does look a bit dated now, but I think it's the same with CGI. I mean, I watched some of those early Thor films. The CGI looks dreadful in some of those films, and yeah, it probably cost a fortune. But you know, you can't progress unless you try stuff and move on. So you know, but yeah, I think maybe they overused it a little bit during the 70s Doctor Who. But you would, wouldn't you? If you've got this new technology, you're going to try and see how well you could use it. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's one of those things where it wasn't used in like 80% of the production. They just used it in certain. Yeah, they used it in certain things that you would naturally want to try and accomplish those things without having to go out on location to save yourself a few pounds, I suppose.
Yeah.
But then, it wasn't like. It wasn't like, right, we've got an excuse to use CSO, so let's just do it for the hell of it, because it was
still not like Underworld where they use the entire blimmin' story. Yeah,
exactly that. Yeah, so I honestly don't mind it, mate. I think it's used pretty sparingly, but they also did a similar thing. I mean, if you think about what was the story? The Fourth Doctor story, where there's a very similar scene where he's climbing up. Is it his last one? Is it Legopolis? Yeah.
Legopolis, yeah.
Yeah, that's full of CSO, and it doesn't look that much better even then.
No, not particularly, no.
You know, so it's not like a huge amount of criticism can be laid at the blame of the production on Pertwee's era, because even in Tom's era, it didn't look miles better. It did a little bit, but still a bit ropey.
Yeah, they mix it with, you know, in this one, Terror of the Autons, there's lots of location and the sets are decent as well in this. So that, you know, production wise, it still stands up pretty well. I think the picture quality this is one of the ones that got junked, isn't it? This is one of the ones that they've had to restore the picture the best they can from sort of copies they found abroad. I think, am I right in saying that? I think a lot of this is.
Yeah, I think
they've had to recolor a lot of it. So again, that doesn't help. If you watch the making ofs on the DVD and you see the original, they show a couple of clips where they haven't been restored or remastered yet. Blimey, the difference is shocking. I mean, they do wonders with these. If you're looking at it thinking, oh, it looks a bit ropey, go back and have a look what it looked like before they restored it. It's incredible. It's almost black and white, some of it. So given what they had to work with in terms of restoring this story, they have done a very good job. But there are times when obviously they've had to colour some of the filming, and it does bleed a lot of the time when people are moving. It's not perfect in terms of picture quality, which doesn't help in the CSO scenes because they, again, look a bit garish. But yeah, it's not too bad. It didn't bother me at all, really. It didn't distract from the story. I think what really carries this, though, is the characters, isn't it? Because like you said, the actual storyline is pretty much an Invasion Earth storyline. So it's not that exciting in terms of that. But because you've got the Master involved and this new assistant and all the other stuff, and Unit coming in and doing what Unit do, it makes it a fun watch because of that, really.
Yes. No, completely agree, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of those... did you reach for your phone much as you were watching through this?
Honestly, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. I can honestly say that I didn't. I was just really engrossed in it, and I thought the script was really sparkling as well. You know, I love the scene when Joe says to the Doctor, "She did A level." He said, "I thought you did A levels." She said, "Yeah, I didn't say I passed." All these little moments, I was just loving it. All that sort of stuff. But I didn't reach my phone once. I thought Pertwee was great. He's almost a little bit Hartnell-esque at the start, isn't he? He's quite tetchy in certain scenes. I love the bit when there's a scene, I think it's episode 3, where some pompous bloke comes in and starts trying to throw his weight around, and Pertwee shuts him down within minutes. He's like, I was talking to old Tubby at the gentleman's club, and I was sitting there, oh, were you? I thought, wow, Pertwee's he's great in this, absolutely superb. But yeah, a little bit, he's a more tetchy Pertwee in a lot of scenes than we see later on, I think. Once he's sort of got to know Joe, he softens a little, doesn't he? I think in his later seasons. But yeah, he's superb in this. But that was a great scene, though, isn't it?
It's great.
Old Tubby, I was chatting to old Tubby.
Yeah, the good thing about Pertwee as the Doctor is you always feel like, for me anyway, I always felt bad for the Third Doctor, because he just constantly felt like he was miffed off with the world, basically, because he's been grounded, hasn't he? He's on Earth, he can't leave.
Oh yeah.
So he's been grounded, and most of the stories are a combination of him trying to repair the TARDIS so that he can secretly do the off and dematerialize, and off he goes. And it never, there's always something. There's always a circuit that's busted, or he's trying to repair something. So you can tell that he's frustrated with that. And then on top of that, somebody wants to, explode, blow up the planet, and he has to save the world and stuff. And that never really goes to plan at the beginning, because inevitably he ends up either getting captured or he ends up back to square one,
He gets thrown in a cell a lot, doesn't he?
Yes, yeah. And and it's not until sort of the climax of the stories that he saves the day, but then it's short-lived. It's bittersweet, really, because once he saved the day, you can tell he's just got that, I suppose I better go back to trying to fix the old TARDIS then. He's back to like, here we go. Grounded. So I do feel for him, because, he seemed to be up against it in more ways than one.
There's a nice scene when he tries to escape again, isn't there? Which is a bit like, actually, it's a little reminiscent of a scene in Tale of the Autons, I think, in Spearhead for Space. Where he gets the TARDIS, like, well, nice to meet you, Joe. Bye. And you think, where's he off to? He thinks he's going to just do one, doesn't he? But clearly the TARDIS is not having any of it. But that's quite a nice little scene, isn't it? So like you said, he's desperate to get away. He's got the TARDIS, but he just can't go anywhere. So that is quite a fun element of the Pertwee era. And
there's and it wouldn't be a Pertwee story without the old Wurzel Gummidge face.
Oh, with the phone. Oh dear.
When he's on the phone to the Master, and the Master's got his little contraption that activates the signal, and then the phone cord wraps around him, and he's got his big cross eyes, Wurzel Gummidge face. Oh, it's cracking up, dude. Oh,
I know, me too. It's funny because when I first sort of started watching the Pertwee era, obviously I was a lot younger, and those are the moments I was like, oh no, why is he doing that silly face? And it used to sort of annoy me. A bit like McCoy in his earlier seasons. I used to think, oh, why is he being silly? Take it seriously. And but they've become the moments that actually I love. So when he did that, I was thinking, yeah, how brilliant is, here we go. He's pulling the Pertwee face. It's brilliant. He does the same, doesn't he, in Spearhead when he's getting the old tentacles around him. So, yeah, I did laugh at that as well. Thought it was great.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think to? So, yeah, I think we spoke about Delgado, but he really did, in a lot of ways, like when they've absolutely nailed the casting, and I think they have done that with all of the Doctors thus far. Most of the Doctors thus far. Some Doctor, they just hit the ground running, and it's like, crikey, where did that come from? It's like there's no warm-up, nothing. Like episode 1, series 1 of their era, it's like bosh. It's like they've been the Doctor for years. It's kind of the same feeling with Delgado, isn't it? As soon as he lands in that first scene, he's just got that feeling about him. He's like he's read the script, and he's gone, right, I know exactly what to do. I know how to do this version. Well, the only version at that point, I suppose, but I know how to do the Master. It's going to be great. And then they get there, and probably when they were going through rehearsals, I assume, or whatever, I imagine that Barry Letts is like, no worries, I've got no real kind of, corrections for you or anything. Just do what you're doing, because he did that for every single story he was in. Like however many episodes he was in Classic Who Delgado, it's just every time, bang, like consistent. He's so good.
Perfect casting, isn't he? Absolutely perfect casting. It's the mannerisms as well. It's just not just his delivery of the lines, but the way he gets out, sort of straightens up, snaps his fingers. Just everything about his performance is bang on. And he is the master from the second he hits the screen. It's quite incredible, actually. It's. I mean, for me, he's the definitive master. He's suave, he's evil, he's threatening, he's humorous, he's everything. I think as much as I do love some of the other interpretations of the Master, I mean, I like them all in different ways, a bit like the Doctors. But for me, Delgado will always be the absolutely definitive Master. I just think he nails every sort of side of that character brilliantly.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's superb, absolutely superb casting. I think Barry Letts on it was said straight away, like, I know who I need for this part. I think it was Barry.
Yeah, it was.
Just said straight away, Delgado. Yeah, so superb.
Great stuff. And with the exception of a few scenes, he never flusters either. Delgado's master never ever feels like he's losing control. He always got that sort of calm, which is even more unnerving in a way when someone's really calm and they're not getting flustered. That's even more sort of alarming to me. And he does that so well.
This is something I wish they'd do with the new series Masters. It frustrates me, actually, because, with Sim's Master and now Sasha's Master, good performances, but I just wish they'd stop going with the crazy, over the top sort of version of it. Because when you watch Delgado's Master, he's, like you said, he's intimidating and scary, but in a calm way. He's just, it's all bubbling underneath. He doesn't need to do all this crazy sort of head shaking and, psychotic laughter stuff that we get in the new series. And I think that works well with Sim, but I just wish, and I do love Sasha's Master, but I just wish he would be more like Delgado. I'd like to see a bit more of the calm, calculated Master that we got from Delgado in the new series. Really. But I mean, as I said, each one's different. I feel in the new series they've just made him a little bit too crazy. He's supposed to be an intelligent man, despite what he's doing, despite the fact he's evil. He is intelligent. Just a little bit unhinged.
Yeah, no, I read you, mate. I mean, it's Sasha's Master was great. Don't get me wrong. He was for me one of the better things to come out of series 12.
Yeah, series 12.
Yeah, he was one of the better things for me, and he had that kind of. So I think because some bad guys and villains in pop culture have been that way for a couple of years now. If you think about like the Jokers from the Batman films have been very like Heath Ledger's Joker and then the other dude, Jared Leto, and just some big popular villains have had that sort of crazy scatterbrain sort of thing going on. I think it lends itself to that because it fits in popular culture for the time. But I completely agree, dude. I'd love to see a Master that's just really cold, calculated, just basically not a clone of Delgado, but somebody who has that same calmness about them and just has that real threatening nature. Like Delgado has that ability to be menacing through his eyes, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He doesn't need to deliver any lines to come across as really like, oh crap, this guy means business. Yeah. He doesn't need to be saying stuff and being animated. He's just got that look about him. So I think it would be great once, however long Sasha's going to be in the show for, I think when they next introduce the Master, I don't know, series 19 or whatever, then it'd be really cool if they had somebody slightly older and as a bit more classic Bond villain about them.
Yeah, no, I would just love to see it. I feel like they've done the crazy, because it worked with Sim because he'd got the drums beat stuck in his head, and it was that whole thing I thought was interesting. The fact that he just couldn't stop hearing the drums and it was driving him nuts, and he was really angry a lot of the time. I thought that worked, but when we got Sasha's master, I was just hoping they'd do a slightly different take on it. And I mean, he has done it in his own style, and he is very good, but I would love to have seen him played it a bit more like this, a little bit more calm, just really unsettling, rather than that sort of same, manic. I keep seeing the bit for Tyler's Child where he keeps doing that thing with his head where he's going nuts, and I just feel like it's been done a bit too much in the modern series. I just want to see the Master back to being a bit more like this, because I just think it's a perfect. I don't want it to mimic this. It's got to be its own thing, but just take some influence from it. Talking of hitting the mark straight away, I've got to say Katie really is superb in this, because another one that I think she was a fairly inexperienced actress at this point, wasn't she? So to come into this sort of very close cast, and she absolutely shines throughout this whole story, and she finds the character of Jo very, very quickly, I think. I just thought, again, she's absolutely found the character, and straight away. I'm not sort of watching this thinking, oh yeah, you can tell it's Kate's first story. She hasn't quite got into character yet. I think she's just charming and brilliant in this straight away. Again, I think she's just found the character.
No, I completely agree, mate. She
I don't know how much television she'd done before this, but I'm guessing, cause she's quite young in this, isn't she? I'm guessing it was, early on in her career. So
we're talking.
But she seems quite confident. You know what I mean? She in her performance, she seems quite assured, really.
Yeah. And this is like year one of her acting career. She'd done a couple of bits before this.
Yeah.
And then this was it. This was her first proper sort of regular role, I suppose.
Yeah.
But
she's brilliant, isn't she? Absolutely, just delightful as Jo Grant straight away.
Yeah, man, she's really rocking in the same way to that we just mentioned with Delgado. In a similar way, she's obviously read the script, and she knows about. And I'm guessing she was told and briefed about, the role of a companion for Doctor Who, and it's this and that, and it just feels like she gets it. She understands all of that stuff, but at the same time, she's putting her own spin on it, because she's definitely got a good rapport with Pertwee and people like Nick. Nick Court, she's got that really. I think it's because she's so nice and approachable and warming. She's got that. People just warm to her, so it's very difficult to be. I imagine if you were acting and you had to be annoyed with her, it'd be very difficult. She just has that really cool. I don't know, like just a good combination of stuff. Like she's really nice and she's helpful, and she doesn't take all of the Doctor's nonsense. She's not quite as strong as someone like, I don't know, Sarah Jane, for example. She's not quite as strong a character as that, but she's not really needed, because the chemistry is slightly different with her and the Third Doctor anyway. It's a different sort of thing going on. So, but yeah, dude, she's just so good in this one as her first story. She's just, really good.
She's totally different to Liz Shaw as well, isn't she? I like that. I love the fact they've given him a new companion, and whereas Liz Shaw was very clever, and I think they felt almost too clever. The Jo Grant characters, she is clever, but she's not, a scientist or anything like that. She's not up there on the Doctor's level, which Liz Shaw was sort of halfway there, wasn't she? Almost a bit too clever. So with Jo will sort of ask a lot of questions, whereas Liz probably would know a lot of the answers. So we're back to a more sort of we're back to a companion where they're asking a lot of the questions that the viewers want to ask. But Katie does it very well. She's not stupid. She's still, knows what she's doing. But it's a very different character to Liz Shaw. But I think it works really well. I mean, I love the Doctor and Jo together. I think they are a brilliant combination as they go through the different stories over the years.
No, I completely agree, dude. And it's really nice to watch as well. Like, as I was watching through this and each episode rolled along, you just felt them sort of connect more and more as the story goes on. And yeah, it's just very cool to watch.
She's adorable, isn't she, as well? It's something about her look and just her on screen. We were talking about the production a bit just now as well, and you were saying about some of the CSI shots, they're sort of zoomed in a bit too fast or whatever. I think overall the direction in this is pretty good, but I love the first scene between the Doctor and Jo when she first comes into his lab. That's a lovely first scene, but and this is a time thing, I'm sure. There is a few scenes where they're trying to film through whatever that gadget is that the Doctor's got on his desk, and they haven't got the camera in the right position, so it seems to take ages for it to actually. They're trying to shoot Katie or Jo through the machine, aren't they? They're trying to get a nice shot of her through, but it's not happening. And I felt like, that should have been reshot, because it's completely off its mark. The camera's not where it should be, and the object on the table is completely obscuring, Katie's face for a good, what feels like 30 seconds. Before it actually gets in the right position. It's the sort of thing you'd get back in, Hartnell's era, really, because they pretty much shot things as live, and they would only retake if they really had to. We've moved on a few years now, and retakes, were quite common. I am surprised they didn't reshoot that. But it's probably a time thing, isn't it? They probably just said, oh, well, the camera gets there eventually, it'll have to do. But it's a shame, because it's such a lovely scene, that first scene between the Doctor and Jo. It's just a bit distracting. You know the bit I mean, right? The camera's just sort of slowly panning down to try and find it just doesn't quite hit its mark for quite a long time, it feels, but gets there eventually. Who did direct it?
It was Barry Letts.
Oh, Barry actually directed it?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. It went uncredited, though, because something around rules at the BBC, I can't remember exactly, but they weren't allowed to credit simultaneously somebody who directed and screenwriting or something like that.
I wonder who's actually, because I didn't think to look, I wonder who's actually credited. Normally they make up a pseudonym, don't they?
Yeah.
Don't know what it said at the end. I think because when the music starts, I was flicking on to the next episode, but I'll have to have a look. But yeah, I'm sure. I mean, Barry as well. I'm sure he would have wanted, given the time, he would have definitely wanted to reshoot that scene, because he did reshoot something with Richard Franklin when he felt Richard performance was over the top or something. I think at the end, Yates said something like, "We've got him now," and apparently Barry went over and said, "No, we're going to redo that because that's too hammy. You need to tone it down, Richard." So they reshot that, but they did. Yeah, maybe they just didn't have time.
Yeah. Talking of not having to refilm stuff, so there was do you hear this? The thing. This was on the. I think this is on the commentary. The stuntman. What's his name? Like famous.
Oh, what? Terry Walsh.
Terry Walsh. Yeah. They didn't mean to knock him off the edge of the cliff at the quarry. So you must have thought the same thing as I did. There's a scene where one of the Autons is driving a car. One of the unit people is driving the car. And I think it's Yates. I think it's Captain Yates. Yep.
Yeah.
He's driving the car and he runs into the Auton, which is Terry Walsh, but didn't really slow down enough. So he really properly knocks him off. But they kept rolling, so they follow him as he's going. What? And I thought, when I watched it, I thought, crikey, he is hitting that ground hard, and then he sort of hits his shoulders, and it springs him up a bit more, and he rolls down a bit more. But then he just gets up. At the end, he just gets up and legs it back up the hill. And I thought, that was a bloody good run for even for a stuntman. That looked like he walloped the side of the hill, and then. I think it's on the commentary. I think Barry Letts is like, Terry Walsh actually got rammed off that hill way too hard. But he was all right. He just shrugged it off. He just got up and...
got on with it. It is, I must admit, I did think the same thing. I thought, blimey, because it seems to be rolling down that hill for ages. I think, God, he's really taking it.
Yeah.
He's really taking a pummeling here.
He's picking up speed as well. He really sort of flies down that hill. I didn't think he was going to stop.
Yeah. I don't know if it's him or another stuntman, but the person that jumps off the tower right at the end as well. I thought that was a dummy, but apparently it wasn't. It was a real person jumped off the big dish that they're on at the end.
Oh yeah.
But it could have been a dummy. You wouldn't have known. I can't believe someone actually jumped 40 foot off that thing onto a load of boxes. I'm thinking.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
It's such a quick shot. I mean, you would know if they'd have just chucked a dummy off there. Honestly, you wouldn't have noticed it. But no, someone actually did that. I mean, that's just back in the day. Health and safety was just not a thing, was it?
No,
no. These guys, Havoc, isn't it? The stunt team. I don't know if they formed yet or if Terry Walsh is just an early version of it. But yeah, those guys just throw himself into it, don't they? They almost love it, don't they? Like, come on, run me over there. Watch me jump off this bonnet of this car. Crazy.
They earned their wages, mate, back then.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Let's rattle through a few of the supporting actors then.
Yeah.
So now I didn't realise until I was researching this morning. I didn't realise this, but when I was watching it, I thought Nick Courtney's a bit subdued in this one. He doesn't have so normally when he's in with a Pertwee story and so on, normally Nick Courtney's very much Nick Courtney's usually very much well, as he normally is, he's very firm, like that English military old schoolness about him. But there was a few scenes where I thought he just seems really quiet, like he's not. Because some of the best scenes with Nick Courtney is when he's having bants with a doctor. Like, there's a really cool scene where they're having a meeting and the doctor's wandering around. Scene. You know what I'm talking about, yeah.
So I do, exactly. Yeah,
he's wandering around and he's like, essentially the brigadier's like, are we keeping you from something? Because this is quite important. And he's like, yes, well, no, I'm just waiting for you to finish, blah, blah, blah. So scenes like that are great. But the other scenes where he's just not in it very much and he's a bit quiet in some of the scenes. And then when I was researching, as we do, and just looking through to pick out anything that's, worth speaking about. Apparently Nick Courtney had like a real bad bout of depression.
Oh, did he?
Sort of midway through production, yeah.
Oh, didn't know that.
So, yeah, so they basically rewrote some of the script so they could give him a bit of time off. And then when he came back, apparently he was all good. I think I have no idea what was going on in his life at the time, but apparently he just, he just was down in the dumps for a little while. And apparently it came through when he was filming, especially in rehearsals. They were like, Nick, are you all right? You're right. Because you're not really... I think he'd missed a few lines and he wasn't quite on the ball like he normally is.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so so they rewrote some of his dialogue and stuff like that and just basically chopped out the Briggs involvement just a wee bit in like the bulk of the story. So, yeah, but I thought, he's normally like really on it. He's very, very shouty sometimes and all that stuff, but you don't really see as much of it in this one, but apparently that's why. But other than that, I thought he was still... The scenes where he is on it, I thought he was really cool still.
Yeah, because I love that scene you're talking about when the doctor's sort of already 2 steps ahead of him, isn't he? So he's basically just letting the brig go through the motions, but not really showing him much respect. He just can't wait to get on with it, can he? But it's a lovely scene between those two. But yeah, I noticed he wasn't in it as much as perhaps he normally is, but I didn't really think anything of it. But it's interesting. I didn't know that. Because I love the brig and I love Nicholas Courtney. I always think he's got that screen presence as well. It just, again, as soon as the brig walks in, you're in for a bit of fun. He's normally got something to say. He's normally going to get a bit of lip from the doctor. So it's always fun when the brig's on screen. But
bit of lip,
apart from that one scene, I guess he's not in it as much. Yeah, just hadn't really thought much of it. What do you think? Because this is Yates's first story as well. So obviously you got Benton and Yates. What do you reckon to Yates?
Yates, other than the funny faces,
because he was brought. I think he was perhaps going to be at one point a sort of love interest for Joe, and then I think they sidelined that, saying because they thought no, because there's this nice sort of the relationship between the Doctor and Joe's nice. I don't think we really need to go down that path. But I think initially that's why he may have been brought in as a sort of a possible love interest to Joe. I'm kind of glad they didn't, because I don't think it needed it. I don't think it would have worked. So really what this progresses into is Benton and Yates become a bit of a double act, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think for a first story? I mean, he doesn't get an awful lot to do, does he? He's quite a nice character to have in it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see the whole unit thing sort of come together. It's cool.
Yeah.
So the Brig and obviously Benson have been doing their thing.
Yeah.
So Yates, he is cool, but I just don't think there was enough screen time for him to do much, really.
He does fluff one of his lines as well, because it's interesting, because you know the way Pertwee worked, where Pertwee would always learn the last word of the person speaking before him as a cue, which is why him and Pat Troughton fell out, because Troughton wouldn't always say what was on the script. So it might not be the last words. You know, Pertwee would always just go from when he thought they'd finished their line. So if you didn't say the line exactly, he was lost, which is why him and Troughton were a bit awkward to begin with. So there's a bit where I think Richard Franklin doesn't quite deliver the line on page, but Pertwee, so he says, I was going to get some cocoa. He's supposed to say, I was going to get some tins of cocoa. But he says, I was off to get some cocoa. So he says the wrong line, but Pertwee still says the correct line. He said, well, what were you doing going to get tins of cocoa? But it's like, that's not what he said. So Pertwee's still delivering the right line and he's delivering the wrong one. But again, I just love the way Pertwee worked. He's oblivious to what the actor's saying. He's just waiting for that one word to cue his line, instead of actually like Katie, where she would learn everyone's lines. And if they said the wrong thing, she could quickly adapt to fit in with it. Pertwee just basically would just learn his lines and the last word as his cue. So I just thought it was interesting to see how Pertwee works. His different style of actor. So I mean, but that's it's his first story. We can let Richard off. He can't get he's still learning. Can't give him a hard time for getting the line wrong, and it's literally one word.
And it's not like Classic Who isn't littered with fair share of fluff
that's
lines.
What makes it great, isn't it?
Exactly.
That's why I love Hartnell, because he gets maybe all the right words, but not in the right order. Sometimes. Imagine him and Pertwee together. They would have been.
Oh God.
It would have been disastrous, wasn't it? I know we got them in the Three Doctors, but imagine if they'd actually had to work together with their. Yeah, it would have been interesting.
Okay, so right, those guys. Unit basically done. Benson is Benson. Speaking about Delgado.
What about old Michael Wisher?
I was going to say,
as Rex Farrell.
Yeah, Farrell Senior. As expected, I suppose. Just sort of very grumpy, not having it, son ruining the business kind of vibe, really.
Gets a nasty.
Apart from his,
gets shot at the end, but feel a bit sorry for him, because the thing is, he's not a bad guy. He's just hypnotized, isn't he? But he gets shot at the end of this. So, I mean, the thing is, I mentioned Michael Wisher because obviously he goes on to play Davros in Genesis of the Daleks, and he's absolutely superb in that. So I always find it interesting when we get him on screen playing, a human being. He's fine in it, though, isn't he? He gives a decent performance. But, he's also in Inferno, isn't he?
He is, yep.
Yeah. So it's good to see him out of the Davros costume. But, I don't know. He's on another level under that suit, isn't he? Once he plays Davros, he's phenomenal. But yeah, it's good to see him in this. I do like the scenes of him and his dad as well. That friction of his dad being the typical old school, how dare you ruin my company, all that stuff. I thought was quite good fun.
Yeah, no, it was pretty good, as expected. I mean,
you
want like an old gentleman to come and sort of whip your son into line. He's sort of wrecking the business, and brief nailed, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then we had what's his name? The guy that creeps up on the master in the circus.
Oh, him.
What's his name?
I forgot about him.
What's his name?
You're on about the circus owner or whatever it was.
Yeah, with he's got the little bowler hat on, and
yeah, he was a great character, wasn't he?
He gave Pertwee a load of stick, didn't he? It was brilliant.
Yeah, loved all that stuff. Again, just a really fun exchange of characters. I don't know what his name was, but yeah, the circus owner. That's an interesting start to the story as well, isn't it? Having it set in the circus. Just thought that made for an interesting, because that's only in the first two episodes, isn't it? And it kind of gets moves on to different locations, but it's a good place to start. I don't know what his name was. Sorry, I don't know the actor's name, but yes, he was good.
Yeah,
as the pompous circus owner.
Yeah, no, he was pretty good because he stands up to the master early on, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
tries to stand up to him, but then obviously we know what happens when that happens. What's his name? I can't remember.
No, I don't know. The
anyway.
listeners will know who we're talking about, though. Yeah, he was good.
And then pretty much the rest of the cast was like people playing the Autons, or there's like some of the, like the strong man in the circus, the guy that keeps the Doctor under control, Roy Stewart, a couple of policemen. So, the rest of the cast just very small part, non-speaking and stuff like that. Maybe that guy was called McDermott. Was that Harry Taub?
Possibly.
Just trying to rack my brains. I think it might have been, the circus owner, but...
I have to say, the whole cast are good, though. There's nobody in this that stands out as, oh dear, he's not on the same page as the other guy. Everyone in this, even like the minor performers, they're all good, aren't they? Like, no one stands out as bad in this at all.
Not really.
It's a really good cast, actually, I thought.
Yes. I'm trying to think of anything that... So, normally in my notes, I'll put something down like, this scene wasn't great, or the story led nowhere, or pacing was off, or whatever. I haven't got anything down that's... I'm not saying it's a perfect story or perfect production. It's not, but I haven't got anything down that's a negative, really.
No, I haven't. I mean, the only negative I had was the slightly rushed ending. But it was still a good ending. It was, it still had lots of action, didn't it? I didn't feel let down by it.
Yeah.
If anything, it left me wanting a bit more, I suppose, which is not a bad thing. Now, I was going to ask what you thought of the Daffodil Men as well, because I find the Autons creepy in this story because of the dead eyes, So that scene in the quarry when they rip the policeman's face off and it's, running around. There's something about the Autons they just look sort of dead, the shop dummies. But I also like the Daffodil Men. I think they look creepy as hell.
They do, don't they?
Yeah, I sort of wish they were in it a bit more. Because, again, in my mind, I always think we get more scenes with them. But there's only really 2 scenes, isn't there? And they're quite short. But they're quite creepy as well, aren't they? Again, it's the dead eyes, I think, on the costumes. But I thought the Autons, when they're in it, or the Nestine, whatever you want to call them, very creepy.
They were, especially the Daffodil people, because they're like those. What was that puppet that was really popular? Had his own TV show. Was it Frank?
Frank Sidebottom.
Yeah, Sidebottom. Yeah, so they had those big heads, didn't they? Like cartoon characters.
He wasn't a puppet.
Not a puppet, but you know what I mean. Like
I do know what you mean.
The big head thing. And they reminded me of that. So, but because of that, they weren't comical. They were really bloody creepy.
Actually, it's weird you say that. I've never thought of that comparison, but I totally get where you're coming from.
Yeah, they looked really creepy, dude. So, but they didn't really meet their demise, really. They just sort of collapsed, didn't they? So once
that's what I mean. Yeah, they were creepy, but I wish we got a bit more from them. Yeah.
Yeah, but once the Doctor and the Master worked together, which is cool at the end, to get rid of the Nestine signal.
Actually, I suppose that's another little, and again, it's a very minor negative, but part of the whole wrapping up quickly, the Doctor convinces the Master like that to, that he's gonna, suffer the same fate, and I thought that's a bit convenient. That was very. He changed his mind very quickly then. Again, it just wrapped up the story just a little bit too quick for me. That whole, they won't distinguish between me and you, so you'll be dead as well. Oh, right, well, hang on, I better stop then. I thought, that was a bit quick. So, again, it's a very minor negative, but I suppose you could say that.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
What do you think of the music in this? Because I quite like it. Some of the music in the Pertwee era can be a bit... ear shattering. But the Master's theme, that little theme that they play every time he's sort of mentioned or whatever, I love it. I think it's really good.
No, it's cool. You're absolutely right. In the Pertwee era, sometimes it's very sort of abstract and experimental, the music. It's a bit...
Sea Devils, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, so I think Dudley Simpson really pushed the whole... let's experiment with the synthesizer and the whole electronic sound effects sort of vibe for a lot of the music, but this one isn't quite there yet. It's still a little bit more traditional.
I liked it. It was a bit bit experimental, but it didn't go into the realms of, because sometimes I can't distinguish between music and sound effects in the Pertwee era. But I thought it worked quite well at this. It is unusual, but I love the Master's little, what would you call it? Sting? Musical sting.
His little his theme, or
his theme. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Yeah, old Dudders. Yep, because we were quite critical of his music through the
Key to Time
series, weren't we? So it's good to hear his music sounding good.
Yeah,
literally.
I liked it in this. I did, yeah.
Yeah. Anything else on your notes, dude? I'm
just having a quick look. I don't think so, really. No, as I said, it's all pretty positive, all my notes on this one. I haven't really got anything negative to say. I just found it a really, really good watch. I enjoyed it a lot. I haven't really got much else to say, really. I just thought it was a really fun, enjoyable story.
Exactly.
It's what I would call, I think you said it, I would define it as a classic Who. I think it is a classic.
Definitely a classic, mate. It feels classic in every sense. Yeah. Right, scores on the doors. It's you to go. It's me to go first.
I think it's you, the studio first, I think.
Yes, I'm going to give this an 8.5.
Alrighty. Same.
Here we go.
Same. Yeah, it's an 8.5. Oh, that's good. We're on the same. Yeah, I won't go any higher just because of the ending and a few other little bits, but yeah, it's great story.
Very, very cool, mate.
Really good fun. Yep.
So an 8.5 from me, 8.5 from Im. What did our lovely listeners think? We had 3 reviews in. The first one is going to be from Sammy Satine from Down Under.
G'day, Gary and Adam. Sammy Satine here. So, Terror of the Autons. Well, what can I say? This is everything. Ruffles, the Brigadier, Joe, the Master. It's quite simply awesome. One of my favourite stories. I give it 10 plastic daffodils out of 10. See ya.
A 10 already?
A 10? Yeah, it is good. It is good.
Okay, well, nice one, Sammy. So I knew we know that Sammy's a fan of Pertwee anyway. She loves
Ruffles.
Yeah. So, unexpected, very expected score there from Sammy. Thank you very much. Moving on, this is Seb Lane.
Hello, Gary and Adam. I hope you're well. This week we're reviewing Terror of the Autons, which is probably one of my favourite Pertwee stories of all time and one of my favourite stories of all time, full stop. I just think it's absolutely amazing. It's got all the ingredients for a perfect Doctor Who story, in my opinion. It's got Pertwee. It's got Joe, who makes an amazing first appearance. You've got the Master. You've got a great villain. You've got Unit. You've got just a very, very solid story. Everything about it is just brilliant. 4 parts just fly by. And it just makes for such an enjoyable watch. I think I only watched it about a month ago. And I never remember it being that good, but it is, and it's amazing, and I love it, and I'm so glad you're reviewing it, and I really hope you like it, because it's one of my favourites of all time. So, stay safe, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Oh, Seb didn't like it very much. Oh, no, he did. He loved it.
Yeah, some more love there from Seb. Thank you very much, Seb. And yes, we do like it, buddy. No worries there. Last audio review. This is Mr. Martin Arnold.
I am usually referred to as the reviewer. Terror of the Autons. Oh, it's a classic. It's a classic. Such a good story. Really, really great. It's just 9 out of 10. Why are we even discussing it? It's a fixed point in time, surely. 2 great introductions for the price of 1. The absolutely lovable Jo Grant, effervescent in the role. She's just a perfect companion, really. Top 3 easily. And she's great all the way through her entire run in the show, and it's which makes it all the more sad when she leaves, really, but that's a discussion for another day. And then, of course, the super compelling dark genius that is the Master, played by the seminally played by Roger Delgado. No disrespect to the other actors right up to the present, but you're not going to get better than this. It's great. This is a really cool story. Interesting to bring the Autons back. It almost feels like a bit of a cheeky reboot. But I love it. 9 out of 10. Stay safe. Take care.
A 9.
A 9. Excellent.
Oh, dearie. Not a 10.
Can't all be 10.
Can't all be 10s. Yeah, thank you very much, Martin. Yep, and we completely agree. This is a defo classic, this one. And a good score. Thank you very much, guys. You guys went nuts on Twitter, so I'm going to rattle through just a few of these. DJ, Theta Sigma. It says, while it's probably the second best of Pertwee's 2 Auton stories, it's still a classic and probably deserves to be given more appreciation than it often gets. Gives it an 8.5. Was the other one Spearhead, I assume? He's talking about? Yeah. I ran to Jordan Shortman, says, really good. Autons are creepy again, but the real strength of the story comes from the performances. Katie Manning fits it right away with the rest of the cast and is brilliant alongside Pertwee. A great story. Jeff Waddle says, read the Target novel before seeing... Sorry, he said, read the Target novel before seeing the actual story. The Nestine itself and the Autons are much better in the illustrations. Not one of the classics, but still a good story with great introductions from for Joe and the Master, and a wonderful Pertwee Gurn as well.
Yeah.
Blair Donnelly says, great intro for Joe and the Master. I loved how the Doctor wanted nothing to do with Joe, but just didn't have the heart to tell her. In the end, it's one of the best Doctor Who companion pairings.
Yes.
I love this era. Can't get enough of Unit. 8 out of 10.
Nice.
Sarah Louise, the running Whovian, says, I really enjoy this story. It's part of my favourite classic Who era and a wonderful introduction to Joe Grant and the Master. The Autons are unnerving. Delgado is a dastardly master, and the rapport between Pertwee and Manning, between Katie Manning, is simply brilliant. Gotta love Joe's stunts too. John's stunts too. 9 out of 10.
Nice.
I think Sarah cosplays as Joe.
Yes. Oh, yeah, she has.
Is
yeah.
it Joe? I think I've seen her. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. Yeah. Millie Mackenzie says, the Master, Joe Grant, creepy, evil, troll doll, bizarre use of CSO, horse trailer TARDIS, deadly daffodils. How can anyone not love this? A 9 out of 10. And she goes on to say, almost forgot about the deadly plastic chair.
Yeah.
Edward Gillooly, an absolute classic that sets the template for the Pertwee era. The killer doll is particularly memorable, 8.5.
Nice. Cool.
Nick H says some of it is great. Master, Joe, the Doctor, some nice film work, but the CSO is terrible. And it was a brave decision to dress up some Autons as police officers in 1971.
Yeah.
An 8 out of 10. Yeah, that is true.
Didn't go down well.
No. Morgan, our good friend Morgan, always love this one. I find it often overlooked. Lots of terrifying moments, such as the suffocating chair and the peeling face of the Auton policeman. It's a great introduction for the Master too, along with Yates and, of course, the beloved Joe Grant. 7 daffodils out of 10.
Cheers, Morgs.
Rick Moran says, I often wonder if this would work better as a 6-part story. We have 3 episodes of terror with wonderful build-up. It feels as though they rushed through part 4. You can find a few minor faults in a scene here and there, but even then it still stands up as against any TV show of any era. The arrival of the Master added to top-class thrills, excellent acting, cracking dialogue, and good amounts of action make this one a classic, an 8 out of 10.
Nice.
Another 8. The Universe of Who says there are some moments which feel slightly stupid, and it's far from perfect, but I really like it. Probably the best Pertwee story that I watched so far and have a soft spot for it. Gives it an 8 out of 10. Brian Chapman, Terror of the Autons come close to matching the best of the previous series. Master is firing on all cylinders for his debut. Joe Grant's kindness and determination are matched only by her bad decision making. An 8 out of 10. Lost on Gallifrey podcast. A great opener, full of scary moments and bold imagery. I remember watching on DVD for the first time, and the moment the policeman gets back up after being knocked off the cliff scared the heck out of me.
Yeah, I bet.
Gives it an 8 out of 10. And then lastly, Dan Peters, a fun, action-packed story that showcases everything I love about the Pertwee era. Autons are creepy as ever. Delgado delivers masterful debut performance, and Katie Manning shines as the scatty, determined Joe Grant. An 8 out of 10.
Oh.
Thanks for the Twitter love, guys. And then we had a few over on Facebook. Aaron Moody says, too bad they don't have an action play set for the Master's TARDIS. Lol. Maybe paint the Barbie horse trailer green.
Yes.
And that's all he says.
I haven't got a Barbie horse trailer, but yes.
Toby Coleman says, well, this story has some of the most creative deaths in Doctor Who. I mean, asphyxiated by a sofa. Anyway, I love this story. Joe is charming and the Master is captivating. I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. It goes on to give it 8 daffodils of death out of 10. Charlie Turner, the people I represent, Mr. Podcast, can never afford to have too much plastic. Love Delgado, the best Master to date, and it will truly take someone really special to beat him. The only downside to the story I can think of is mostly overshadowed Autons, despite the title being called Terror of the Autons. And the short little plastic doll, maybe. It goes on to give it a 9 out of 10. And then lastly, Joseph Howarth says, God, the Master ruling the world with plastic flowers. When this incarnation plots the world conquest, he goes hardcore with his ambitions, and you've got to admit that. He does, Joseph. He certainly does. Even goes as far as to kill someone with a plastic inflatable chair. This story is so unsettling, from the music, the fact the Master could be anywhere or anyone is just chilling. A pity he disguises himself sillier later on. The only downside is that the Autons don't show up often enough, and when they do, they look goofy in appearance. Otherwise, not much to say other than it's a favourite of mine. A 9 out of 10.
9. Nice one.
Yes. I haven't read all of these out. There's quite a few and quite long on Facebook. So, yeah, if you head over to our Facebook page, you'll be able to read and comment on those stuff. But that's going to be it for listener reviews and stuff. Thank you so much, guys. I think it's safe to say, mate, Terror of the Autons getting a lot of love. Average score, got to be a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's nice.
Indeedy. Right, next week, buddy. What have we got?
Next week, we're drifting into Torchwood with an episode called To the Last Man.
To the Last Man.
To the Last Man.
Yeah.
Now, what is... don't remember. What is this? Because when was the last time we did a Torchwood?
Oh, God.
Are we on Series 2? I genuinely can't even think where we're up to with Torchwood.
Yeah, it's still on Series 2. This is... Oh, God. What was it? Episode 3? 4?
Oh, right.
Series
okay.
2. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember this... Oh.
I can't even remember the trailer from the last one we did. You know, they normally show a next time trailer.
Yeah.
I can't remember what this was about. But anyway, yeah, that's what we're doing. To the Last Man.
Yeah, I think this is a Tosh focused one. I haven't seen it in ages, but...
Yeah, so what was the last episode was Sleeper, wasn't it? Oh, that's right, yeah. Which wasn't too bad.
Yeah, it was all right.
I can't remember what we rated it, but yeah.
Crikey. 6.5 from me, 7 from you. That's back in June.
Yeah, it's okay, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes. Right, To the Last Man, then a bit of Torchwood next week. So, yeah. Let's wrap it there, dude, for 281. Thank you, Who fans, for sticking with us for another week and listening to us waffle on about everything Doctor Who. It's great to have you all here, as always. Newbies, new listeners who have jumped on board, thank you so much for joining us. Long-time listeners, the grizzled ancients, thank you for coming back. It's been great. Next week for 282, as Adam said, we're going back to Torchwood Series 2 for To the Last Man. So give that a watch, get your DVDs out. I think Torchwood is on... iPlayer, isn't it, still? Pretty sure it's on iPlayer.
Is it on there, is it? Okay.
I think so, yeah. So whatever format you want to watch it on, get it fired up. We'll be asking for your thoughts and reviews, as always, because we love to hear what you guys think about the story that we're reviewing. And it's been great talking through Terror of the Autons, dude. I've wanted to review this one for ages with you, mate. It's been a good one.
Yes, definitely.
Yes. So until next week, head over to the website, bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all of our previous shows on there. Plus, there are links to go off to the various podcast networks and apps, so you can become a subscriber. That way you won't miss a show when it lands every single Friday. And there are links on the podcast to those things, or just do a search for us, the Big Blue Box Podcast. You'll find us on there. We'd love to have you as a sub. And if you've got a minute to leave a review or a rating, that would be awesome, because that really helps us out loads and loads too. We're on the socials, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Links are on the website. Come and drop a like and a follow over there. We chat and waffle more Doctor Who throughout the week in between shows. And we have a free Discord server too. Again, the link is on the website. Come and hang out and chat Doctor Who over on Discord. A great community building up over there. Lots of cool Who fans showing their collections, talking about Big Finish, talking about books. All sorts. Loads going on. It's very cool. Also, get yourself a drink, get comfy, get YouTube fired up, and go and check out my co-host channel over there, The Geek's Handbag.
Do you think they'll get me on Strictly soon?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I can't see why not.
I'll keep applying.
Yeah. It's a waste, isn't it? The Geek's Handbag over on YouTube. Go and check him out. Loads and loads of video there. So new videos coming up soon, I hear, on the grapevine.
That's right.
And Adam is on the socials too. Same name, The Geek's Handbag. Give him a like and a follow. Until next week, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember,